Hey everybody, this is John. Look what I brought home tonight. M&P45. The thing is empty. Okay. I'm going to dry fire it. Okay. Good. Cool. Magazine disconnect. I don't like that, so we're going to get rid of it. Okay, let me see if I can quickly explain this to you. Let me take this apart. Let me take it the barrel. Okay, so what we've got here is the breech face, and through this little hole is where the striker comes through, hits the primer, and ignites the cartridge, right? Okay, so what you've got here then, inside this body, there's this rod. It's called the striker, and that's what the firing pin is. And on the end here, you've got this nose. So it's almost like this guy here is spring-loaded. So if you were to press this, you could pull this back, and essentially you spring-load this striker. If you were to push in this button here, and push this forward, see how the striker peeks through the hole, and then it would cause it to hit the primer. But if you could pull this back, see that? It's very heavy spring, it's very spring loaded, but if you were to pull this back, it gets like a slingshot, right? If you were to let it go quickly, it would pop it through the hole real fast and strike that. So the way it works then is this nose on this striker, the striker gets cocked back, and then it gets hooked into something. What does it get hooked into? Here is the sear. Now the sear is the hook on which that nose hooks into when it's drawn back. So when you rack the slide and you bring it back, that nose will hook into this sear. If I had the magazine in the gun, when I pull the trigger, that sear would go down, release the nose on the striker, and the striker would, under spring force, would go forward and obviously peek out through the hole and strike the bullet, the ammunition, right? So the problem is, I pull the trigger, nothing. If I lift up on this hook, pull the trigger, it now works. So as you can see here, the problem is this whole assembly is shifting to the right. So lift it up, see that? So when you put the magazine in the gun, the magazine with the ammunition in it will lift up on this hook, drive everything to the left, and now when everything's to the left, pulling the trigger enables us to drop the sear. With that hook forward, nothing. And this hook has to be removed. So we're going to have to take this out and put a spring in there. Find a punch that's the full size of that hole. There we go. It's got to be it now in a second. Here we go. Out. That's the pin. Just going to pull this out. Take my half closed pin here. That's useful for lots and lots of stuff. Okay, just lift up on the safety here. This thing, I'm going to put my finger on the trigger, and I'm going to bring this back by pulling the trigger, and I'm going to work this out. Here we go, out. Okay, so, okay, this is it. When the magazine is put in, this is held up like that. So this little piece of metal here, it's got a ramp on it, right? And when this comes up, that piece of metal ducks out of the way. That enables that other piece of metal to go this way. So we've got to take this thing off, and then we've got to find another spring to push everything this way. So we can take this off by, if you see here, there's this pin. Punch the pin out, and then this can all come apart. It looks like there's spring here, so that's how that works. And this guy here, it looks like this here, sear, the sear now, when it's ramped like this and it's in a position to cock back and hold back the striker. But when you bring this down like that, the sear now can't be angled anymore. Therefore the striker can't hook on it, so the gun can't be fired. So it looks like this is some kind of sear disconnect. So I'm going to drive this pin out. Okay, one last thing before we drive the pin out, I want to say that this spring it comes out on both ends, and one side goes in and hooks into a little slot right here, and the other side of the spring hooks into that loop. Now to take this pin out, I'm just going to take this here, push it like that. It looks like this stuff can come apart now. This can be lifted out. Oop, that can come out. That little spring can come out. Okay. Good luck getting that back together. So if this has to go back together, this is what it's got to look like. Then that would go all assembled back together. So the next thing then is we've got to put this sear disconnect. Put this lip up and under here, and then pin that in, and then that's got to be pinned up against this wall and shoved this way all the way. So we need a spring to go in this slot now to take up the slack to make sure this is always tight. Where are we going to get one? Fortunately, I have a lot on my desk, and I'm just going to cut one, so this is where it's going to come from. Here we go. Pretty much the same size diameter. So we want to fit this in this hole. We want it to be fairly tight. Oh, look at that. So it looks like I'm going to cut this spring maybe a quarter off it, and I'm going to use almost three-quarters of the length. I'm going to take my little pair of pliers here. You can always cut off more, but you can't add on. So I'm going to snip it right there. That's gone. That's how much spring we're going to use. Okay, so we're going to put this in like that. I'm going to take this little spring and I'm going to jam it in there. Now, hopefully this doesn't fly out of my fingers. Okay. Looks like we got that lined up there now, just like that. You're going to drive that pin through. There's that, and the spring looks not completely compressed, but it's got a little bit left there. That sear disconnect seems to have a nice little flick in it. Okay, so it looks like there's this thing right here and right here, and right here there's a groove. Similarly, there's a groove there. Stick this in like this. Now lay that down like this. Okay. Before we push that in, we've got to put our safety back in, because that came out first, so it goes in last. There we go, snaps into place. What I'm going to do is take this screwdriver thing that I have. I'm going to drive this in the hole because it moves through fairly easy, and I'm going to let this stay in there. One little test, working good. And I'm going to let this guy drive this one in and let this one drive that one out. Just like this. Alright, just a little bit more. Done. Alright, guess we should give her a quick check. Drop the barrel in, put this guy in. Make sure this sear disconnect is forward. Reconnect that sear. Okay. Let's get the magazine out. Magazine in. Okay, that's it.